Alright, so a few days ago, as I'm sure you are aware, Doors released a mini update that added a new queue system to Battle Mode, as well as a bunch of Twitch-themed item skins as a part of the Blockfest event. Now, although many believe that this was all this update had to offer, it actually added a whole bunch of secrets I've yet to discuss on this channel. From the addition of very cool monochromatic black and white items, to secret dialogue the player can say when interacting with certain items and objects, I'm going to be going over all of these new hidden changes in today's video. I bet you didn't even know many of these new additions existed at all. So make sure at the end of this video you let me know down in the comments which ones you knew about before watching this and which ones you didn't know about. Anyways, we have a lot to discuss today. So with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so the first secret change I want to go over is a change to guiding light items in subfloors. Now, as you may know, guiding light is not present in areas like the outdoors or the back doors, and that means items specifically tied to them don't work. This is why you can't just crucify rooms entities in the rooms. Guiding light no longer powers the items in subfloors because they are no longer present there. Anyways, this update added a very cool secret change specifically regarding these types of items in subfloors. If you happen to bring a moonlight candle or a moonlight float into a subfloor, in addition to it not working, their color will be completely drained, giving you a very cool looking monochromatic item. This black and white coloration also extends to item skins of these items, which is a really cool detail. The crucifix, despite technically being one of these items, doesn't receive this special coloration, but if it or the moonlight candle and float are used in subfloors, it triggers another secret added in this update. Essentially, all player dialogue in this update has been secretly overhauled, so now it sports a new white text color and some of the wording has been changed. If you recall, if you held a crucifix in a subfloor before, you would receive text stating how it felt lighter than normal, implying that the item wouldn't work, as I previously discussed. Now, using any of the moonlight items in a subfloor will display a unique dialogue line from the player's perspective. This overhauled dialogue system actually is what a lot of the secrets mentioned in this video are related to. I'm pretty sure all the next ones are. And in addition to all the previous player dialogue lines having this new look, a bunch of new hidden ones were actually added. Let's go over probably the most well-known new dialogue line added in this update. And this one's unique, as it involves an entirely new object interaction that was also added in the update. If we head over to the outdoors and walk up to one of the many "Don't Step on the Grass" signs present there, you'll notice that you can now interact with them, which is actually a functionality that previously didn't exist prior to this update. If we do click on the sign, the player will state the message on it, utilizing the overhauled dialogue system. This is pretty much the only new dialogue line that utilizes a brand new interaction. However, a couple items actually received completely new dialogue lines for holding or using them. For one, if you drink a bottle of Starlight, and only a bottle of Starlight, not the other Starlight drinks, your player character will comment on how the drink tastes expensive, referencing how you need to pay 100 gold to obtain the item in the back door. Additionally, now if you hold the tip jar, your player character will state that it's empty, which is pretty much the only functionality the tip jar has besides being able to be converted into a rift jar in a rift. Now, although those are unfortunately the only new player dialogue lines, so that was pretty much all the new content, a bunch of pre-existing interactions were also secretly integrated into this new dialogue system. For example, interacting with special paintings. You see, clicking a painting normally will just tell you what its title is, and this text isn't spoken by the player, as it's just a title, so it looks the same as always. However, if the player specifically clicks on a Seek painting, or the Room 60 painting, the text that is displayed is actually from the player's point of view, so it's written using this new dialogue system with the white text. This is because both paintings don't have real titles, unlike all the other paintings. So the player either comments on that, such as with the Room 60 painting, or states how the painting isn't actually a real painting, like with the Seek paintings because they are made of Seek goop and aren't real paintings. Moving on though, this new dialogue system is also present for interacting with certain entities or objects relating to entities. Most notably, the player states nothing happens when interacting with Bob. They state it's just a piece of wood when interacting with the chopped piece of eye stalk after the outdoors chase sequence, and the player comments on the groundskeeper's scythe's weight after the groundskeeper leaves it behind in the introduction of the hedge maze, which, as you may know, is the final room of the outdoors. You know, the groundskeeper tries to attack you with his scythe, but then Bramble pulls him away, so he just kind of leaves it behind and you can interact with the site. Now, besides the font and color change, I don't really think any of these dialogue lines changed in terms of what is actually being said. But at least now we know it's the player themselves directly saying this stuff, and it's not just some random narration thing being told to us, like it kind of was before this update released. Now, the last major new part of this dialogue system is actually found whilst using the Herba Viridis. Before, interacting with this object would state the text, "Your heart beats stronger than before." Now, however, it states a similar line, however it's now from the player's perspective. I know these dialogue changes aren't the biggest additions in the world, but I think it's important to go over all of them, as this is probably the first confirmed time the player character themselves directly speaks, even if it is just rehashing old narrations that have already been in the game for sometimes years. Some of these are completely new too, like with the outdoor sign, so I'm pretty sure you probably weren't aware of at least a couple of these secret dialogue changes, especially the ones relating to the Starlight bottle and the tip jar, because nobody uses these items nowadays. They are quite rare to come across. Anyways though, that was basically everything I wanted to cover in this video. Yeah, I know, they weren't the most exciting secret additions that were added in this update. However, this was a rather small update, so it makes sense for the secrets to also be small. But I do think some of them were actually pretty cool, especially the monochromatic items. I think that's such a neat detail, and it makes perfect sense too, as the guiding light energy has been drained from those items in subfloors, and now the items' models actually reflect that. So, with all of that being said, let me know down in the comments what you think of all this, as well as if there are any other secrets in this update or just in this dialogue system that I forgot to mention. I think I nailed down all of them, however there's definitely a chance I missed something because, as you know, Doors is pretty much known for always adding a whole bunch of secrets when it updates. Anyways, with all of that being said, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.